Here you go. So here's the raw scan of Kaguya, or actually Obito, stating that she emerged from a different time space, but the kanji they used was the exact kanji
No, no,
that
no.
Kruos
Listen,
said
listen.
was not used there,
This is
which is
not the
Jiku.
scan cross translated. This is not the scan cross translated, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because in the video he uses this actual kanji. He said the kanji Jiku does not appear once in the actual video.
In
But
his first
but here's
video.
the thing: is no, but he wasn't talking about just the video. He said specifically Naruto chapter and the data book, right? But in the Naruto chapter, it references her time space multiple times, and
Yeah, that's
in
correct.
this
And did
panel
he
here,
back up his claim of time space not having any kanji in Japanese?
yes, it does. He actually said there was a kanji. Did you listen to his video? I'll
Yeah,
play
I
it for
listened
you.
to
His
this
video
video, but
said this: the right kanji for time space is jiku. That's word for word what Kruos said. He literally said that there is a kanji for space time, the correct kanji, and I've just showed you two panels that literally have the exact kanji that he said was the correct one. I'll highlight them for you if you can't see that.
no, no, no. I cannot.
These characters here was the exact characters that he claimed were not in the Naruto chapters, but they are.
You gave me two chapters to the same panels, didn't you?
Yeah, one's in Japanese, one's in English. And this
I know.
character was the character that he said was the correct character for space time. And it does actually, in fact, appear in the Japanese chapters. So he
Does
lied.
this
He said
kanji
that,
translate as space-time or time-space?
again, listen to his video. This is the exact kanji that Kruos said he didn't appear, but it does. So if you watch his video,
To his first
go
video.
to yeah his first
Time
video,
space. In fact, they actually have a kanji
go
for
to
space
20
time, as I'll
seconds.
show on the
Kuros
screen.
himself
So you
says
can
that
see
this
here is a
kanji
kanji
is the right kanji for space time. So Kuros himself debunked himself.
for space
Go
time.
to 20 seconds. He literally says Jiku is the correct kanji for space time, and here it is. Obito's literally explaining Kaguya is coming out of her space time using the exact character Kruos said in his first video. And I put the English and the Japanese so you can read it. So I'll read over what I wrote because I wrote pretty much everything in one. So if you actually read the manga panel, this is Kruos, by the way. I'm quoting what he said. Or the data book, it says it's the start of a new time space, but this is actually a mistranslation. The reason why I know this is the case because if you know any Japanese on a college yet level, you would know that they don't have a kanji for time space. In fact, they actually have a kanji for space time, which I'll show you on the screen. So the kanji he shows on the screen, this kanji here, jiku, is the exact kanji that I just proved exist in the manga. You can see here is the kanji for space-time. This is actually nowhere to be found on the original raw scan, so that's actually a lie because in the
No,
original
no,
Naruto
no, no.
chapters,
Yeah,
it's there.
I know about it. I know about it. But the kanji you just showed me, the last picture, does this translate as? Wait a minute.
Yeah, it translates to space-time. It doesn't matter what
No,
translator you
does
use.
this translate as Jigo only to space time only
Yeah.
or time space?
So Viz translated it to be time space, but in the gshow.org, which is what Kruos showed, it comes up with space time. So whether you're using the Viz translation of time space or space time, it's irrelevant. Kruos himself said these two characters, Jiku, is the correct kanji that should be used for space time. And they're used exactly in that panel. So he proved that it's a space time. Time space is space time.
So this is the only sentence that translates as Jigo, no?
No, actually, there's about 200 Naruto
No, no, no.
chapters.
I'm talking about this panel. I am talking about this central panel.
What? There's nothing in this talks about
No,
planets at
I'm
all.
talking about the panel you dropped of Obito. Obito explaining Kaguya space-time or time-space.
Yeah. So what about it?
Is this the sentence that is meant to be wait a minute.
Yeah.
Jiko.
Yeah. So
Is
the one on the right where it says she emerged from a different time space is exactly where that character Jiku comes from. So if you look in the same bubble but in Japanese, it says let me have a look. It's really small. Yatsu wa Jikukan kara dete kiyagatta. So the 1, 2, 3 down, 3 characters down in Japanese, you can immediately see Jiku.
No, I'm talking about this panel. This one here was not in first sentence. The one panel you showed, right? The one that said it was start of a new time space.
What about what? That doesn't make any sense.
This one here, the one I mentioned, the one I
You haven't
replied
sent
to,
anything. Oh, wait.
yeah,
What?
this one was not said in the panel where it said that Kaguya was going to destroy the time space, and that was a new
That wasn't
start of
his
a new.
claim, though. If you listen carefully to what he said in the Naruto chapter, there's like he's talking about Naruto as a whole. Like he's not talking about a specific panel. Otherwise, he would have said in this panel. But he said chapter. So he said nowhere to be found in the Naruto chapter or data book. That was the exact wording of his video. But if you look out throughout the entire chapter, it actually uses Jiku, it uses Kukan. There's multiple different references in Japanese to Kaguya's dimension. There's not just one manga panel that talks about her dimensions. The actual
No.
from about, let's go from, I think it's about 580, chapter 580 to 600ish, right? This is
No, I know that.
these
No,
events
Sasuke
are
from novel talks about
no, the
Kaguya's
point
space.
is that these all talk about Kaguya's dimension. So it would be incredibly dishonest to look at Kaguya's dimensions and how they're translated from one panel as opposed to every single reference to her dimension. So my argument here is every time people have talked about Kaguya's dimensions, they have referred to her dimensions as space-times in multiple different characters and kanji and ways. So some people have said Kukan, other people have said Jiku or Jikukan, and these are all different ways to say space-time. So what Kruos is claiming, he claimed this, that they only used Kukan or Sekai. But that's not true. They didn't actually use Sekai in the manga. Only in the data books did they talk about Sekai, because the data book panel is talking about the expansive truth-seeking orb jutsu. And that jutsu is completely to do with what it was going to do on the planet. Had nothing to do with Kaguya's dimensions.
No,
And
her
if
jutsu.
you read the data book panel that he showed, it has no mention of her time space. It's only talking about the ball or orb and what it's going to do to the shinobi world. So that's why
Of course,
they have the word
supposed
world
to be
there.
a new time space, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the new time space is from the manga. And in the manga, they
And
used
the time
Kukan. They
space
didn't use
is
Sekai.
referred as Sekai, as world,
No,
as
not
Kruos
in the
showed.
manga. In the manga, it did not say Sekai at all.
That's not in the manga. That's in the data book that Kruos
Yes,
showed
but
and called it Sekai.
if you
And
read
say
my
that
exact quote
it
of
was
Kruos,
Sekai.
he said in fact the word they actually use is Sekai. Like I'll reread it to you exactly word for word what
No,
Kruos said.
I know what he
This is
said. I know
actually
what he
nowhere
said.
to be found on the original raw scan for the Naruto chapter or data book. Here is the raw right here. Shows the data book panel, not the chapter. And then he says, in fact, the word they actually use is Sekai. So the way that he worded it, he said that the word Sekai was used in the Naruto chapter. So he lied. Because it's not found in the Naruto chapter anywhere. Which is why I made a bet of $2,000 saying that I bet you $2,000 it does not exist. That's why he didn't take the bet, because he know he's wrong, he knew what he said, and he lied.
someone not wanting to take a bet doesn't mean he's scared
It
to
means
lose.
he knows he's wrong and he's lost.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. You put words in other person's mouth.
No, I didn't.
And
I
we
literally
had
just
we
read
had
you. Okay,
discussion.
do
We
you
had
want me to
discussion,
read to
right?
you a third time? This
No,
is
no,
his
I'm not
exact
talking.
words from the video I just posted. Third time. This is the third time. This is not me putting words in his mouth. I am quoting Kruos. Okay, you ready?
You're not
Nowhere
letting me
to be
talk. You're not
found on the original raw scan for the Naruto
stop
chapter
scamming.
or databook. Here it is right here. Shows the databook panel. And then in fact, the word they actually use is sekai. That's his words. Word for word. I did
Are you
not
done?
twist his words. I didn't put words in his mouth.
Are you done? Did he claim that the sekai was only used in that?
Do you want me to read it for a fourth time? Do you lack comprehension
shit.
skills? He literally said it in the video. It's nowhere to be found in the Naruto chapter. And then he says, the word they actually use is sekai. Hello? He literally said it. He actually said it, that the word sekai does not exist in the Naruto chapter. That is why so many people don't agree with him. That is why I called him out for lying.
I don't think your age matches your mentality. Listen to me. He claimed that sekai was used in manga. Was used in data book, right?
No, he did not.
And he
He
said
said this
that
is his words. You can't. No, now you're putting words in his mouth. Where did he say it was used in the manga or in the data book? He said specifically. He said Naruto chapter. That's not exclusive of the data book.
He showed the Naruto chapter he was referring to. He was referring to chapter. What chapter is that? The one Kaguya.
So you literally just conceded to me right now. You realize that, right?
How did I do that?
You just agreed to me because by him saying that it was in the Naruto chapter, right? By him saying that, he's wrong because it wasn't in the Naruto chapter. That's what I'm saying. In the Naruto chapter, it never uses the word sekai once.
He said that Jiku was not used in Naruto chapter, right? And he showed the Naruto chapter he was talking about.
Yeah, but I just proved to you that in the Naruto chapter, Jiku was used.
But which chapter did you show me, and which chapter did Kruos showed? They are two different ones.
Yeah,
if
so the question that you're talking about right
Kruos
now...
Said, listen, if Kruos said there is no word used as Jiku in Naruto chapters, not chapter, because he showed what chapter meant.
That's like I mentioned before. Why would you look at one page when there's an entire chapter and there's many other chapters that talk about her space times?
He was referring to. He said that the word space time was nowhere used in that chapter,
he's also
right?
wrong on that as well. We can talk about that because in the exact page that he posted, he disingenuously translated it when it actually does say time space. In the exact page. It
says time space.
No, that's in English. In Japanese, it's translated to space time. And I've already proven that based off using the exact dictionary that he showed. In the definition for the character that he showed, it literally says the other page that he showed was it's the start of a new time space.
Translate me that panel. You know the
your own video that you sent, you actually condemned yourself here by posting the video of
the
me.
raw Japanese.
So let's post this.
She uses. I don't.
On TikTok, right? Let's do it. You know Japanese, right?
You can see here is a kanji for space.
Yeah, I'm just gonna screenshot the video that you sent, and then I'll
okay,
repost
guy with college level Japanese. If you really did have college level Japanese,
you know Japanese language, right? Translate the panel of Kaguya destroying time space or space time, like you say, and prove me that it was translated as space time instead of time space.
This character that he's rebuttaling here, Kukan, it literally says under definition 2 that with time to be part of a balanced four-dimensional in mathematics.
I'm talking about the panel Kaguya was going to destroy the time space and create the new one, the start of a new time space.
As it says here, with time to be part of a boundless four-dimensional continuum known as a space-time. So definition 2 for Kukan, which is in the panel where it says that it's the start of a new time space. They use the word Kukan. And Kukan, because it was there, literally translates to space-time under definition 2 of the exact dictionary. So the panel that he's talking about is this panel here, where it says
Now look at the
Arata
video I
na
dropped.
kukan no hajimari da.
You're not
So that,
letting me talk, and you're talking out of your ass. Look at the video I
yeah,
just
well, you
dropped.
just
The
cut
last
me off.
video
Are
I
you done?
dropped.
Because I'm still going to finish my point. You can't just like cut me off. I'm looking at the panel that says this doesn't.
So I can't cut you off, but you can cut me off, right?
I never
That's the that's the logic
cut
you're.
you off,
That's the
dude.
logic
I literally let you finish, and I'm still talking.
You let me finish. You
I
are
still haven't
recording,
finished
right?
my point. I'm still waiting to finish my point. Just because you
Okay,
cut me off
okay.
doesn't mean that I haven't finished my point. I'm still going to bring it up again. It makes no difference. Because what you're saying, if you just listen to what I said, you will literally not have to talk. You will agree with what I have to say here. This is the post he posted, and he lied. He literally said that there was no reference to a time space on this panel, but it does. See this character that I'm going to zoom in and I'll literally copy and paste it in so you can see which one I'm talking about. This exact character translates to space-time under definition 2 from the same dictionary that he used. It
The
literally
same
says space-time.
translation. That panel
This character
translates as
here,
time
this is from
space.
his video.
And
This is from the video
said
you
that-
just posted. It
Yeah,
still
I know,
says
I know.
space-time.
The same
It
paragraph. you know,
says time space. It
No, it
translates
says
as
space-time.
time
In
space.
in Japanese, it says space-time.
What are you lying to do?
Just because Viz translated it to be time space doesn't mean it does not mean it's a space time. That's just the way Viz translated it. Time
No,
space
it's
and
not.
space time are the same thing. Can you prove that they're separate or different?
It's time space and not space time.
As you can see, this is literally the second definition. It says, as I've read before, with time to be part of a boundless four-dimensional continuum known as space-time. So he never disproved that there was no mention of space-time.
Okay, now let's
in
go
the
to
panel.
the.
That's the definition for that kanji. I posted the character, I posted the exact
That's
scan
the
that he's
definition.
referring to, and it still says there's space-time mentioned. Now, here's another thing that you probably don't know because you don't speak Japanese. Did you know in Japanese that the grammar is backwards? So if you were to read the
No, I
characters, the characters will be backwards. So if you had time-space, it would be read as literally space-time. You read it backwards in English. For example, the characters that are written there says Arata no kukan no hajimari da. So at the end of the sentence in Japanese, it says this, going from backwards to the beginning, or actually let's go from the beginning. It says nu, and then the character for time is, well, it depends on how you translate this, but like the point is the kukan, ku is the space character, and then kan is like area. But together they become either space-time or time-space. But because you're reading it in Japanese grammar, it would actually be time-space, which is backwards.
So
And then you got
if
no
you
hajimari
don't
da,
speak
so it
Japanese-
is the beginning goes at the end of the sentence. So it says nu, space-time or time-space, and then beginning.
I got a
So
question.
if
I
you
got a
notice,
question.
the words are out of English order. So when you're translating into English, they can either do two things. They can translate it into English and make it more understandable for English readers, or they can keep it in Japanese grammar. And so you have what you would call Japanglish. So it even if you were to put the words in a different order, it does not change the meaning of its original raw meaning. It still says space-time or time-space. It makes no difference. It's just the fact that it's Japanglish. And what further disproves Kruos' point is what I said before. The fact that they actually use the kanji, which he said would be a better alternative to explain Kaguya's dimension, which is jiku. This is Kruos' own words. He said that the right kanji to use for space-time is jiku. Obito literally used that exact kanji to say that the space-time or that she emerged from a different time-space. They use that exact kanji, space-time, which is the correct way to say space-time in Japanese. So the point is that, as I mentioned before, the debate is over if I can show from the Naruto chapters, because he didn't say it was exclusive to one
He said
page.
the chapter.
He said
He
Naruto
showed the
chapter.
He showed the chapter
Yeah,
this
exactly. So that's
chapter.
fine. So I'm going to use the Naruto chapter, and even if I wanted to use other chapters, there are
But
many,
which
many,
chapter are you
many,
going to
many
use?
chapters. It's
Because
not
show
who
this
who
panel. This
uses
showed
one
this panel.
page.
This
Who uses one page to prove a point when there's actually 200 pages talking about the same
then you
topic?
should
It
have
would be
showed him
incredibly
another panel
dishonest.
saying
That's why I've done that. That's why I use other panels from other chapters as well to prove that not only do they talk about Kaguya's dimension in this panel, but they've talked about it in other panels. And I've actually got several hours worth of debates regarding Naruto being universal on YouTube. So don't say that I haven't posted these before. These are all publicly available information that Kruos decided
because
to
there are
say,
dozens
okay,
of
this
there
doesn't
are dozens
exist.
of
I'm just
things
going to use
you
this
need
one
to.
page and claim that it's true. So that's why what you're arguing is completely false. It's based on the assumption that everything about Kaguya's dimension is based on one page. And he also
No,
lied,
he never
saying
said it.
that
He
never
showed it
once
panel he
did
had.
Kaguya ever mention that her dimension, or anyone else for that matter in Naruto, was a Jiku, when I've shown proof that Obito clearly stated Jiku, which is the correct kanji using Kuros' own arguments here for space-time. But in my understanding of Japanese, Kukan or Jiku is acceptable for proving time-space or space-time. They both mean the same things in given context. So I don't have a rebuttal or problem with that. I don't have a problem with Viz's translations. I think that Viz is far more accurate than a kid who is still studying Japanese. In other words, Kruos. And I agree with Viz's translation. I agree with the native Japanese speakers. I can speak Japanese. I can read Japanese. And I understand it. And that is why, for those reasons, not only have I proven, using Kruos' own words, that he lied, but I've also
Now you're
proven
just adding
that
words to your
that
sentence.
Kaguya's
Now you're
dimension,
just
I did not add any words. I've said this 4 times. I read the
you're
exact
just
wording
adding words
of
to your
what he said in the
argument. It's
video.
useless.
I read it
Listen to
word
me.
for word,
This,
and I've read it
he showed.
exactly the way he said it in the video. I didn't twist it. There's no twisting here. And this is pure evidence for everybody on YouTube, so they can literally follow everything I've been reading. They can listen to the video recordings that I've shown of the evidence that he's provided, as well as what I've provided. And as you can see, the debate is over if I can show the Raw chapter has no reference to Sekai. Well, I've already shown that in the Raw chapter, there not once does Sekai appear anywhere in this
He
particular
said
manga
that the
panel that he's
Sekai
shown.
appears in data book, and
Yes,
he
so
said that the chapter he showed, this is that one it was referred
no,
as
if you
time
actually
space.
keep listening to the video, he doesn't actually clarify anything other than he says Naruto chapter and data book. In the video that I played multiple times, and I even wrote out word for word the entire
Yeah,
thing he
no,
said.
this is
He,
right
he
here.
doesn't he
This
doesn't
is
actually
right.
clarify that it's exclusive to the data book or exclusive to the manga. What he says is Naruto chapter and manga. So what he's lying about here, he's claiming that in the Naruto Raw manga, it says world or Sekai, which is not true. It only says that in the data book. It only says it in the data book. I'll repeat that. It doesn't say it in the manga. It only says it in the data book. So the fact that he made that claim that it says in the Naruto
He
chapter,
showed the data book, and he said that it says Sekai,
do you
right?
understand
Then
what I'm
he
saying? Nowhere in
yeah,
the
I understand
chapter
what are
does
you
it
saying.
ever say Sekai. In the entire chapter,
He
it
showed
doesn't
the
ever
data book.
mention Sekai one time in regards to Kaguya's dimension. Ever. Not once.
He
Not once
showed the
in
data
the
book. He
not
showed
once
this
in the
data book.
entire
I just
manga.
screenshot. Right?
Yes, but the data book has nothing to do with Kaguya's dimensions or space time. The entire. If you do you want me to read the title? Okay, look.
It have time
I'll do it
space
for you.
being
I'll post it for
destroyed.
you because you obviously haven't read the entire panel in English. Data book entry for the expansive truth-seeking orb, and I'll show you from Google. I'll literally get there's some basic English translations for this panel. I have some in my
The
save files, but
truth-seeking orb
obviously you're
is
not going to
something
trust
to do
mine,
with
so that's why I'm going to use what's on Google, because that way it's not biased. So this
no,
is
no, I
somebody
don't have
else's.
problem. I am asking you, do you think the orb has nothing to do with destroying time space?
No, that's not what I said. I said the data book has nothing to do with Kaguya's time space. It's not talking about her time space in the data book at all. You know what it's talking
The,
about? It
the,
literally, if you were to
the,
look in the data book, right, and you go to the jutsu files, you go all the
the
way to the
data
jutsu
book he
files.
showed
Why is this picture
was
not showing?
adapting the manga panel of Kaguya destroying her time space. The data book is literally showing that.
Okay, let's use this person's. Hang on. Come
The
on.
data book shows the raw scan of Kaguya's space-time or time-space.
What the hell is with Google? Why is it being weird like this? So can't we just like, all right, let's just save this image and then go from there. All right, here we go.
I'm gonna.
I think that actually came from me. All right, so this is what. That's another thing that's kind of disingenuous about Kruos is that he didn't post the English translation of the data book, so everybody's very confused as to what he's actually talking about. Let's read the English definition. So see all this writing on the right side in Japanese? This is the data book, okay? That's why it's got the color. That is the data book. At the top, it says the expansive truth seeker orb. See those kanji? Bocho Gudodama? It's not talking about Kaguya's dimension. It's talking about the
It
expansive
says
truth
the
seeker orb.
Kaguya's dimension. Do we know why he showed this panel? Because
No,
this
no,
data book
no.
was
Listen to what I'm
adapting this
saying.
data book
Listen to what I'm saying.
adapting.
The entire panel is not explaining her dimensions at all. So if you read the actual words, right, it is listed as a Keke Mora Ninjutsu. It says that she used the divine tree to absorb chakra from all of the shinobi and created a maximized truth seeker orb. The equivalent black orbs that appear behind Naruto's back when using 6-path sage mode can't be compared to its dimensions. Comprised of all 5 elements and yin and yang, it had the power to obliterate the world and return it to nothing. Compromised of all chakra natures of vast expanding masses filled. So this, created to reshape the world. It was a huge mass of chaos. So it's talking about the ability of the expansive truth seeker orb. It's not talking about Kaguya's dimension. That's why the jutsu file is for the expansive truth seeker orb.
It's talking about Kaguya. It's talking
And what
about
it's going to
Kaguya's
do to
world.
the
I don't
shinobi
think
world. It's going to
last part.
reshape the
The
shinobi
part I am
world.
talking about is the data book adopting the manga panel you just showed. The one panel
No.
on the
So the
left,
data book,
you
what the
see?
words that it's talking about here in the data book has nothing to do with the words that are shown on the manga panel. It's explaining the
Or you
orb. The
nothing
picture,
to do.
the orb
It's,
is the
it's
most important thing here. It's explaining what the orb is. It's not talking about Kaguya's dimension. It's explaining what the orb is and what it's doing. And what the orb is doing is destroying the ninja world. So that's why
and then it
it makes
shows the
reference to world. It's making reference to the fact that it's going to reshape the world. You would have to prove that this databook panel is talking about Kaguya's dimension, but it's not. The actual panel itself, the title isn't what Kaguya's time spaces are, or time spaces of Kaguya, or
do you
dimensions of
even know
Kaguya.
why
The
this was showed
title
this
of the
panel? Do
actual
you see the
databook panel says Expansive Truth Seeker Orb. It's talking about the bowl and what it's going to do to the world. It has nothing to do
do you
with the
know why
space
did he
time.
drop the manga? Oh my. Wait a minute.
The reason why it's showing that manga is because that's the only manga panel that actually shows the orb destroying the world. It's one of maybe 3 or 4 manga panels. The other manga panels, it has a reference of Kakashi saying, we're going to save the world, right? Because Kakashi is trying to encourage the rest of Team 7 to protect the ninja world from Kaguya. That's why it's showing the orb. because it's talking about Kaguya is going to try to destroy the ninja world. But the whole point of this entire debate was the fact that Kruos said that the word that they used to describe Kaguya's dimension was actually sekai, in other words, world, which is false. They never once said that Kaguya's dimension equals sekai, or Kaguya's dimension is world. So he lied. He blatantly lied, and he's fooled every single one of you.
This one right here you dropped, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why did he even show the data book scan? The raw scan? Because it showed the raw translation, the Japanese one, of this one.
He didn't show this.
The
This
left
is
one.
mine.
He showed that in his video. This
No,
one,
his
apparently.
his one's very different. He showed what I sent, but this is what I sent. You just screenshotted what I sent you.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna screenshot it when first time Kruos showed it. This one, he showed these two panels. You can even see his original video. You showed exact same panels.
What
The right
you need
one
to send
was
it,
translated.
and yeah. So explain what are you trying to make here? What's your point?
Because you said why did he show them? Why did he even show the data book scan, right? The raw one. You
No, that's
didn't
not what I said.
understand it. He showed it. What do you mean you didn't say that?
I didn't say why did he show the raw data book at all.
Without translation, without English translation.
Yeah, like I'm not talking about the inside manga panel. I'm talking about the outside, and that's not even the entire manga panel, by the way. That's literally just zoomed in to one picture on the entire manga panel.
The one he showed or the one you showed?
Both. So the data book doesn't actually have the full Naruto panel. That's literally
Yeah,
one
I know.
image out of
The full
5
Naruto
or 4, I think, on that page. So I'll show you what it actually looks like in full.
Yeah, I know that panel.
Well, yeah. Point being is that not only did he not show the entire panel for the manga, but the panel that he showed for the data book
Because that
doesn't.
was the panel
No,
that was
listen. He
supposed
didn't
to.
include the
I know
English
that.
translation of the data book. Why do you think he didn't include the English? The reason why he didn't include the English data book translation is because if he had shown that, everybody would have simply read it and realized that it's got nothing to do with Kaguya's dimensions. It's only got to do with the orb or the ball. Which is the reason why he purposely didn't show the full translation in the video. Whereas in my videos, I've made like 2 others after the videos we've shown. I showed the full translations. I've even used the G-shows or the dictionaries to prove him wrong. And that's why the majority of people agree with that. And it's also the reason why he doesn't want to debate on
You
that
used
topic.
another panel than he used. He showed the manga panel and said that in this chapter,
No, he
he
didn't
didn't
actually use
say
the manga
the word.
panel because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not the
no,
full
you know.
manga. So you're actually incorrect by
I know.
saying he used the manga.
Say there is no mention to space time in the chapters, but he said chapter and he showed Kaguya's chapter, the one that was going to destroy a time span and create a new one, right? And you
No.
take it as like
Again,
he said
it's very
there is
simple.
no.
You're overcomplicating it. The data book had no reference to Kaguya's time space. The manga does, right? The fact
The
that
data
the data
literally
book is not talking
Kaguya's
about
space.
Kaguya's time space. The manga is. Kruos said they're both talking about the time space, but that's not true. It clearly says, as the title in the data book, that they're talking about the ball, the jutsu. The expansive truth-seeking orb is the title of the page. The information in the text is talking about the jutsu. The information in the text on the data book is not talking about Kaguya's dimensions. In fact, there's actually a panel that does talk about her dimensions. I'll show you right now. If you wanted to
No,
refer
you
to
take
the
it. You
Kaguya's
take what
dimension
you
panel,
said.
then why didn't he show this panel instead from the data book? Because that would be the more
Because he was
accurate one.
talking about the
Because the
central
data
panel.
book
He
one
would
that
say
talks about her creating dimensions, right, is probably the more reliable source for talking about her dimensions, not some ball.
are you gonna show her ability being able to create dimensions as she
That is
wishes?
correct, because that is the actual panel that
Yeah, I
does
know,
talk
but
about
he
her and
didn't
her
show that
dimension.
one panel. We
No,
are
this is
talking
what
about
I'm
his
saying. If you're
translations.
going to make the claim that it's talking about her dimensions, it should say somewhere in the panel that it's talking about her dimensions, but it's not. So here's an example of what you should have referenced. For example, this is talking
Is
about
this
Kaguya's
even real panel?
dimensions.
Is this how it translates? Do you have
And
the
if
Rails
you
confirm to
and
translate?
you want to know what's really funny though? You want to know what's really funny? The actual character that they use for dimension here was the exact character in the manga, which is Kukan. So
So they
nothing
use the
in,
same.
if anything, it just proves that it is a space time.
Listen, I got a question. You read from above to down in Japanese, right? Or from down to above?
You read from right to left, and then you read
Yeah,
from up down.
yeah, I know.
So, but it's not just the
And this
order that
one,
you
then
read
this,
in
no, no,
though. The
listen.
actual characters or the words are placed out of order. Because in English you have subject and then you have what do you call a subject, object and a verb, right? So for example, I went to school would be the subject and
No,
then
I
the
know.
verb and then object.
That was
Yes,
my
but
question. I
Japanese
want
is
to
not that
translate it.
order. Japanese is the opposite. It's I school went. So it's subject, object, verb. So that's why when you have certain words, they're placed out of order. That's why you could actually
That was
translate it
literally
to
my
be time
question.
space as opposed to space time.
Let me translate the kanji with.
It's not that one. What was the one with the dimensions? No, no. Where is it? Dimensions. Here we go. So now we got. Haha. So this is the original raw Japanese for that Kaguya's Dimensions one. And it says Kukan. See the kanji are highlighted in red? That is the exact kanji that appears in the orb panel that Kruos sent. So in the English, if they translated it to mean dimension, that doesn't mean world. I don't know where Kruos got the idea that that was translated to mean world. So from this, I'm pretty it's pretty obvious that I don't think you totally understood all the panels. You haven't read them in English and Japanese. And you literally just genuinely believe what Kruos said without actually doing the research yourself. That's what this debate has taught me. Do you have anything else to add? All right. Well, he left. Just as a final mention, he actually already did concede in the beginning. You can take your first W because my deleted messages can't appear. Because he said that he asked the debate earlier, but he didn't. See, I deleted plenty of my messages. I was like, you have nothing here. You're already lying. Because on TikTok, this guy claimed that I was ducking him, and he invited me to debate him. So, sure enough, I obviously offered to debate him, and yeah, well, I think it's pretty clear who won. Anyways, GG's.